We go to the phones, and joining us this morning, the editor, our good friend Scott Braddock over at quorumreport.com, editor of quorumreport.com. Scott, good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. Sorry, we're having some trouble with the phone there. I was just trying to call in, and I heard just the tail end of what you were saying about social media. I didn't hear what the story was, but it probably doesn't matter. Whatever you were saying to not post, you should probably not post. But I was going to say this, that I was talking to the mayor in Colleyville, Texas yesterday, and he had said that there was somebody who posted on Facebook that they had a death of a young child from COVID-19 in Colleyville, and that just wasn't true. And then the person who posted it later admitted that they were just doing that to see what reaction they would get,
Jeez.
which is disgusting. I said, and look, I hadn't seen that myself, and apparently they had taken it down and then admitted that what they did was not right. But yeah, the tail end of what you were saying that I heard about just not trusting everything you see there is exactly true. You got to seek out sources of real information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
that's and again, just sometimes just step away from social media. Let's see the I don't even know where to begin. I guess with coronavirus, with the governor, Scott, the governor's kind of getting beaten up by everybody on this coronavirus still.
He is, and the announcement on Friday, and then the press conference that he held with Vice President Pence in Dallas. I'm talking to you from Dallas this morning. The visit by the Vice President had been planned for a while, I'm told, but it did seem sort of orchestrated. Their comments certainly seemed all lined up to try to give the governor some backup in the decision that he's made. You saw where the vice president said that he wanted to thank the governor for his decisive action, not just on opening the state, but also on the more recent actions of shutting down bars across the state and ratcheting back, the limitations on capacity for restaurants back to 50%. Tough situation. I was talking yesterday with the head of the Texas Bar and Nightclub Alliance. They represent bar owners all across the state, and they feel like it's just whiplash, Chad. I think you had tweeted out, speaking of social media, what's the plan for bars? Is it open, shut, or is it, we'll be open once again that there's a vaccine? And nobody has a real answer, exact blueprint or predetermined plan for how to deal with a pandemic. But the governor taking heat from all sides, and it's not. And was talking with some folks here in North Texas who said it very well. I think, Chad, that it's not really breaking down along the normal lines of Republicans and Democrats, or liberals and conservatives. There's some of that, of course. There is some partisan structure to some of the comments, but I think people are just having a human reaction to it. It sort of transcends politics, because this is one of those things that just impacts everybody. And, other than, in my 20 years of doing news, other than, covering a hurricane, which this would only be true for the one region where the hurricane hits, this is a thing that impacts every aspect of everybody's lives. We're talking about, life and death. We're talking about livelihoods. We're talking about keeping businesses open or shuttering them. And we're talking about government revenues and healthcare ramifications and all of it. And so it's hard for anybody to get their mind around exactly where we're going to go next with this thing. We have heard, and I can report this, but we'll put we'll put a disclaimer on it that we don't know this for sure, but we've heard that the governor may make some sort of an announcement this afternoon. I'm told his office is trying to tamp down that rumor. So we'll let you know if we hear anything more concrete. But I can't imagine if the governor was going to say anything this week, in a sort of press conference or speech style, that it would be any good news, because you look at the numbers and things aren't improving, Chad. It's going the wrong direction.
And again, this is
very frustrating.
And you and I talked about this yesterday when you were filling in for Mark Davis there in Dallas. And
thanks for coming on the air with us.
Yeah, no, it was very nice for you to invite me. But we were talking about how this is a governor who he's not doing the Cuomo deal of every day on TV.
Right.
Should he be out there more? In my opinion, we shut down the bars. There's not a press conference. There's not. Right. There's just a email here.
Here's an email.
Yeah, and I talked to bar owners up here.
That's crazy.
They're getting ready to open. They're getting ready to open for a busy Friday, quote unquote busy Friday, busy weekend, getting ready for the 4th of July. Hey, we put in orders for liquor. We put in orders for food. We put in orders for all this. And then all of a sudden they have to learn it from me, or somebody else that the governor of Texas has just shut them down again. And then we don't get a governor who is doing press conferences and answering questions about how long is this going to last. I mean, right. I think this is part of the frustration.
It is. People need, in a situation like this, clear communication and a direct line of communication. They want to see the person who's making decisions and hear them explain why they've made the decision. We compare it to Cuomo. At first he was criticized, for wanting to be on TV all the time. People say, well, if there's a camera, Andrew Cuomo is going to find it. And there may be some truth to that. And these are people who live their lives in the spotlight, of course, governors of states, politicians, powerful people. But the fact is that you don't want to do this by press release. You don't want to do this by email or, as you said, maybe people see something on social media, and because of some of the examples we were just talking about here on the radio, they may not believe that thing's even true. They need to see the person who made the decision explain why they made that decision. And, to that point, in Austin today, people are asking the governor's office, is there some announcement this afternoon? Is the governor going to be speaking this afternoon on television? Are we going to see him talking? Where if he was doing a press conference every day, or some kind of an announcement every day, or putting out a video with some sort of regularity, I don't think people would be, asking that question. The only question would be, what is he going to say this afternoon?
Yeah, and the governor,
if anything.
Just a few minutes ago, with a new executive order, basically suspending elective surgeries, hospitals in Cameron, Hidalgo, Oasis, and Webb counties. Yeah. So 4 additional counties there.
So expanding it beyond the what he had originally done was, as put that in place for the larger counties. We're talking Harris County, Dallas County, Bexar County, et cetera. And that tells you something if he's starting to say that the smaller counties also need to do that because suspending elective surgeries means that they do have concerns about hospital capacity. You may have seen the reports out of Houston. There was some back and forth at the Texas Medical Center, which is the largest medical district, largest hospital district on the planet. Last week, they had reported out data that said they were basically bumping up against their capacity for ICU beds for people who either have COVID-19 or need an ICU bed for some other reason. And then they just stopped, Chad. They just stopped reporting that data out publicly, which had a lot of people questioning why they would do that. Now, at the medical center in Houston and at other major medical centers, when they say that they are up against their capacity, what that means is they only have enough staff plus beds to be able to take care of people at a certain level. What they can do at these big facilities, and this was pointed out in some of the coverage over the last few days, is that, it may be that they will say that they're capped out or they're topped out, but they can expand capacity at those sorts of facilities, but that means they have to bring in more staffers, bring in more people, more healthcare professionals to take care of people, because a bed with nobody to staff it is not really a bed,
right.
As far as, healthcare. So they can expand, but that's a job, unto itself. And so if the governor is saying that we've got to have, more restrictions on where people can get those elective surgeries, again, it's just not a good sign. It's moving in the wrong direction.
But are we seeing any talk of, the pop-up hospitals that were discussion when this thing first hit Texas of, okay, we're going to go into this convention center, that convention center, and put up, makeshift hospitals. From what I've seen, we haven't seen much of that at all.
I wouldn't be surprised with the governor making that choice and making that announcement via another executive order today. Would not be shocking to see more talk of that down the road. But as you know, when they first set those up, for example, the one in Houston that they set up, they ended up not using it.
Right.
And so then they were in, and again, it's a situation where you can't win, Chad. They put the thing in there as a backup. They put this pop-up hospital there just in case they would need it. And then the local leadership, tried to make the case that, look, we're doing a good job here because it turned out we didn't need it. Better to need it and not have it kind of situation. But then they were criticized for, accepting help that they ended up not needing. So there's no way to avoid criticism on this kind of thing. And by the way, we should say That is exactly why. The fact that you just can't win and there are no precise answers for a deal like this, that's exactly why you need real leadership. Somebody who steps up and says, here's the direction we're going to go. Here's what we're going to do, and they're willing to just take the slings and arrows when there is criticism. Because guess what? No matter what you do on this, there's going to be some.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, I know you got to get going. You're working on some stuff. Tell folks what they need to be paying attention to over at Quorum Report.
Well, we've got a lot of things in the mix. We're looking at various updates when it comes to schools this afternoon. State Board of Education is getting an update right now, I'm told, from the Education Commissioner, Mike Morath. I know everybody's interested in that, how we're going to get kids back to school this fall, and a lot of other things we're looking at, including the campaign finances and some of these runoff elections. Imagine it, Chad, we're just weeks away from the election here, and people are going out there and early voting already. That started yesterday, so we're keeping track of all of it for you at quorumreport.com. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. Just go to quorumreport.com, click subscriptions, and we'll get you signed up. Very nice. Scott, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, my friend. Have a good one. That's Scott Braddock, editor of quorumreport.com.